Alright guys, welcome back to another leatherworking video. So in today's video we're going to be building a sheath for my Leatherman wave, as well as one of the bit kit pieces that's going to be going along with it. So I took some time to sketch up a design. Hopefully it's all going to work out nicely, because as we learned with the wallet, I tend to underestimate things, but I think I took the time to kind of figure out exactly the dimensions of leather that I need, and I'm hoping that I calculated the right depth and all that for the Leatherman and the screwdriver bit pieces.
Move close to me. You love differently, so move close to me. Love me differently.
So we've got our two pieces of leather, and one just slightly bigger. So the smaller piece here is going to be our back piece. So this one shouldn't change, other than we're going to put the rounded corners and all that on it. This other piece is what's going to go on top, and is going to be what's formed around our Leatherman and our bit piece. I gave up on that first attempt. The chunks of leather are just a little bit too, I don't know, they're not the right size whatsoever. And I did some research, and the technique that I was using to make the sheath is a fairly advanced technique. So instead I went and I did a lot more research, found some new people that have actually made sheaths for my specific Leatherman, the Wave. And so I came up with this design, and now it's very similar to a lot of the ones I've seen on Etsy. So I'm not going to take credit for this being a completely original design. So it's the exact design that I wanted. I don't want something with a strap over the Leatherman, because I want to be able to pull it out. But I want something that is tight so that it doesn't accidentally fall out when I'm walking, or if for some reason in my day-to-day life I have to go running for something. And so I want it nice and tight, and I want it to not have to have a strap. So the idea here is we're still doing the same thing, two pieces of leather that'll be stitched together. The idea here is, rather than having the back piece perfectly flat against the belt, there's going to be half the Leatherman bulge is going to be in the front, the other half's going to be in the back. I think it seems like it's going to be a much better idea, and the only thing that I have to kind of wait on is I had to order some hole punches, because I don't have, for the belt loops, I don't have them on my drawing here, but they're just going to go right on the sides here. And basically to make them nice and round, rather than trying to cut it with an X-Acto knife. I probably could do that, but for $9 I figured I could get a couple punches, and then all that I would need to do is just put a punch here, and then cut two straight lines. Then I have nicely shaped belt loops. So yeah, the next step here is going to be cutting out the leather chunks again, and just going back through and doing everything that we normally would do with a leather project.
It's too bad you'll never know. Yeah, I can't tell her how I feel, because she has someone who makes her happy. I'm a ghost in these walls, or at least I try to be. 'Cause I hope that I'm not showing how I feel for her, but she won't feel the same for me. I've got this picture in my mind. It's just the two of us, just the two of us. But I know I have to try to let her go, because she won't be mine. I listen when she talks, I watch her when she walks. She's giving me these feelings that I've never felt before, but she will never
Alright, that is our pieces all dyed up. Still not perfect dyeing, like it's still a little bit splotchy here and there, but as I've learned with the wallet, the best thing to do is let it dry, go through all the assembly phase of it with the punching and all that, and then go back at the very end once it's all stitched together. Because I'm using black thread, the dye isn't going to change the color of it, so I can easily dye over the one that once I've got the thread in there. So we're all good. Now, it seems like every single video I've got a slightly different tool to work with to make things a little bit easier. And in this one, I managed to get a wing divider, wing separate. No, I have no idea what it's called. But it's basically just these two sharp points that you adjust the distance between them with this little screw. And so the idea here is that it'll just give me a little bit more accuracy when scribing my lines. And that way I'll be able to get a good consistent width around the edge of my piece, because I wasn't having a whole lot of luck with the groover. What I found is that this is a little bit more of the proper way to do it. So you'd use this, then you'd use your groover, or I think then you're supposed to punch with your chisel, then you use your groover to give you a nice even groove all the way around. But I don't really feel the need to use the groover right now, so I'm going to just use this, because I think it looks a little bit, the few test pieces I've done just using this look quite a bit better than when I was using the other parts too, or using the groover. I'm just going to start going for it and marking out our stitch lines. I'm still quite nervous about the actual sizing. It doesn't look like I got my lines perfectly vertical on here, but I think they're good enough. For this being the first sheath I make, I think it'll be pretty good. The biggest challenge on this is definitely going to be getting the edges nice, because they are, just by doing what I did with the punches here, it's definitely made it a little bit rougher, but I think we should be good to go to start stitching. So actually, yeah, I'm going to start stitching, and then that way I can do the burnishing on this inner part, this inner lip later on. So my plan for stitching is I kind of got these two sections here, and then I've got this section and this section. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to start here, go around and back up to here, do the same thing on this side. Then I'm going to join it in here to this spot, and then I'll do a separate. So we're going to do 1 stitch, 2 stitch, 3 stitch, and 4 stitches, 4 different sets of stitches. If that makes sense. If it doesn't, then I don't really know what to call it. But yeah, I think we're just going to get our stitching horse and saddle up, because this is going to be a pretty intense amount of stitching here.
I won't get close to your heartache if you won't open your door. I'm feeling kinda lost when your mind is hiding whatever that is choking your chest. I can see it in your eyes that you're shaking, 'cause you're holding it back. Maybe you'll make up your mind, now I'm here by your side. So let it all out on me. Let it all out on me.
So I did all the stitching. I did the last two, the bottom and the middle stitch. I just did it off camera because I figured there's only so much footage you guys want to see of me sewing. And so now we're all ready to start with some of the other processes. So before we actually put the Leatherman and the bit kit in and do all the stretching and all that, I first want to go through and do all of the edge beveling. So we're just going to run this around all the edges, make sure they're nice and clean. Probably is going to change. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that because I kind of need to sand the edges before I can bevel them and get them all nice. So I'm actually not going to do that just yet. What else do I want to do? One thing that I do know I want to do before I form this is I'm going to be putting the belt loops in. So I bought these little punches. I think this is a 4mm punch. So my plan is, hopefully this works. It's how everyone says to do it on the internet, and I think I'm going to go trust that rather than making it up. So it's just a punch here, then cut 2 straight lines between them with the X-Acto knife here, and that should give you a good sized belt loop. Now it was kind of hard to find ones on Amazon that were the right size, and I think that, like I said, this is a 4mm punch, so it should be more than thick enough to fit a belt in and all that.
Hold you in the dark, make you forget about what's wrong. Let it all out on me. Let it all out on me. You won't get closer to me if you won't open your door. If that's what you want, then baby, try to believe me when I say that you can tell me anything. I can see it in your eyes that you're shaking, 'cause you're holding it back. Maybe you'll make up your mind, now I'm here by your side. So let it all out on me. Let it all out on me. Oh, I will hold you in the dark, make you forget about what's wrong. Let it all out on me. I can see it in your eyes that you're shaking, 'cause you're holding it back. Maybe you'll make up your mind, now I'm here by your side. I'm here. Let it all out on me.
So we are nearing the end of this project. We've got the sheath all formed around the Leatherman and the bit kit. It's fitting super nicely. It's super comfortable to wear. Part of the forming is actually having to wear it so it forms to your hip. And so I wore it pretty much all last evening when it was still a little bit damp, and it's so much more comfortable than any other Leatherman sheath I've ever tried. So I'm super excited. We've got a nice solid fit. Things don't really fall out easily, but you can pull them out with a little bit of pressure. The Leatherman is still fairly tight, but just like the wallet that I made, the credit cards were tight at first, but then they slowly loosened up over time. So the Leatherman is nice and they're tight. You can hear a nice satisfying click or thud when you put it in, which is a good sign. It means it's going to be held in there nice and tight. It also helps. I always forget this about these Leathermans is the two knives that it has. They have these little ridges, which I think are acting as a really good lock on the sheath. So, and it means it can only, it means that it won't be able to fit in upside down. You're always going to be able to put it in the same way, and it's going to sit nice and tight in there. So, yeah, the next step here is I'm going to go around with some sandpaper, just touch up all my edges, then do the burnishing, and then I'll sand it, and then we're going to go over it with some more dye, make sure we've got this nice consistent coloring all over, and then we're going to burnish it, then we're going to finish it. So we're getting pretty close to the end of this project, and I have to say this is probably one of my favorites so far out of the other two projects. So it's so interesting to see how the leather warps and works. So I think I was thinking about this last night. One thing I would change if I was to do this sheath again is I'd make the Leatherman slot a little bit wider, like a couple mil wider. That way you can see how there's quite a bit of deformity in the back piece here, which it doesn't look bad. Like when the Leatherman all that's in there, it doesn't look bad, but I think it would look a little bit better if there was more stretch room in the actual Leatherman spot itself. The bit kit piece is perfectly sized. There's not really any excessive stretching there. It just slides in nicely. It's pretty much perfect. But the Leatherman spot is a little bit too tight. And so just in the future, because I'm planning to make another one of these fairly soon for one of my family members, and so when I do that one, I'll make it a little bit wider, and that way it'll for sure fit. It'll have less deformity in the back, and it'll still have the same nice tight fit. So I'm gonna get on sanding this thing, and hopefully we can finish this off. And
every night I'm going on the grid, texting back. I want you, hit you up. I'm on the other side. I miss you. Take you off, I came here way too strong. Cannot keep it low key. Got me drugged, your pheromones hit the roof. Auto, your taste. It's really a bad reception out there. Where you heading? Why ain't gravity pulling you in closer to me? I've lost you, but I need you. And you're off my radar now. I've lost you, telling you that I need you, but you're off my radar now. Found myself in between the lines, underneath your bed sheets. It started fun, but now I'm in too deep into this flow. A zero-sum game that I will lose. There's no zipping past it. Every time you walk away from me, I want you. How could I want you more? Or when did I lose my perspective? Oh God, have I lost it? But my cravings for you so shameless, can't get enough. I've lost you, but I need you, and you're off my radar now. I've lost you, telling me that I need you, but you're off my radar now. I'm like an outcast from pillar to post. There's no denying I'm chasing ghosts. I'm like an outcast from pillar to post, hitting you up, but I'm stuck on hold. It's really a
I'm just gonna let the little bit of oil that's it mixed in with the wax and let that soak in, and we should be pretty much good to go to put the Leatherman in and start using this thing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This was a pretty sweet project. I do have to say that it went a lot better than expected, and I'm very, very happy with the result. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next one.
Off my radar.